Okay, so today's plan is operations with trig functions. Now, if you remember back when you were in elementary school, you learned about PEMDAS, or parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, which was your order of operations, remember? And you read it left to right to figure out which one you do first, multiplication or division, addition or subtraction. Now, our trig functions are going to kind of make that a little funky. With trig functions, what you should remember is you're going to do your inside, and then you're going to work outward. Inside and out. Okay? So I think the best way to explain this is to do some examples. So cosine of pi over 4, right? X equals pi over 4. Well, what does that equal? That is going to equal, well, first, you should draw your table. So take a minute to go ahead and do that while I do it too. Okay, so there's your table. So what is cosine of pi over 4? Square root 2 over 2. Okay? Well, that was letter A. Not too hard, right? Pretty simple. Letter B, negative 2 cosine pi of 4. Now, if you think about this as being in parentheses, this will equal, what does cosine of pi over 4? Because we want to do our inside, then we want to move outward. So what does cosine pi over 4 equal? Well, we just figured it out there, right? It equals square root 2 over 2. Now we can multiply. So negative 2 square root 2 over 2 equals negative square root 2, right? Not too bad. Not too bad yet. Pretty simple so far. Now let's do sine of 3x. So we do sine 3 times pi over 4. What are we going to do first? Multiply your 3 times your pi over 4. You got to do the inside. What's inside the parentheses first? That is multiplication, right? So sine 3 pi over 4. Then we're going to figure out, okay, what's sine of 3 pi over 4? Now, you should know how to do this from the last video. If you don't, then you might want to go back and watch that. So what are you going to get? You are going to get square root 2 over 2. Now, is it in our first, second, third, or fourth quadrant? 3 pi over 4. It's in our second quadrant. Sign is positive. That's our answer. Okay. The tough one. Sine squared pi over 4. Now, you might be thinking, okay, let's square pi over 4. No, that is not what you're going to do. This is the same thing as saying sine pi over 4, all of it, squared. Okay? So what is sine pi over 4? Because remember, we got to do what's inside the parentheses first. So sine pi over 4, square root 2 over 2, right? Then we square it. So then it is 2 over 4, 1 half. Not too bad, not too bad. Okay. Now let's try something a little harder. Let's do 2 cosine squared (3x). Okay, so what are you going to realize? What are you going to do first? Realize that cosine squared 3x is the same thing as writing cosine 3x squared. So that equals 2 cosine 3 pi over 4, right? Because our x is 3 or pi over 4. Then we got to multiply it, right? That's the first thing we got to do. Inside, then out. So what's 3 pi over 4? Cosine 3 pi over 4. Well, pi over 4 is square root 2 over 2. Well, is it negative? Is it negative or positive? 3 pi over 4 is in our second quadrant, which makes this negative square root 2 over 2 squared, which gives us 2 times 1 half, right? Because the squaring a negative is going to give you a positive, and we figured out what square root 2 over 2 is squared. And that gives you 1. That's our final answer. All right, so I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you guys tomorrow.